Good morning, Northern Michigan. I'm Trucker Randy. Brian Summerfield is hopefully on the road and able to listen in via Skype. We have a caller coming in right now with a little bit of a breaking news story. Caller, are you there? Okay, how about that now, caller? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Who are we speaking with?
This is State Representative Greg MacMaster. How are you doing?
Good, sir. I'm up here running the board for Brian, who's driving his daughter to Florida this morning for college, and the truck driver's having a hard time running the board, so...
Yes. I've been in that position before. Well, thank you for doing a good stand-up job.
Thanks a lot, Greg. What's on your mind this morning for calling into Patriot Voice Radio?
Well, after long deliberation, consideration, and praying with our family and thanking Senator Howard Walker for his years of service as a public servant, I'm officially announcing my candidacy for the 37th Senate seat. Excellent.
Well, glad to hear that you're getting into that race, and we understand that there could be some competition for this primary. This is, I think, going to be a very heated race for that seat, and I think that you need to maybe tell the folks why perhaps you feel you're the better person to be our next state senator from the 37th.
Well, I frankly think we need to have a very strong conservative Republican continue on into the Senate and strengthen the Senate overall, and bring forth legislation and push legislation that is going to be more oriented to protecting Michigan and the Constitution. I think my voting record speaks for itself, and there is a definite spread on opinions between my votes and others who may come into the race. I'm not for raising taxes. I think we need to prioritize our state spending and do it better before we turn around and start raising taxes. That's not going to be popular with anybody in Northern Michigan. Some of the other things in the past, Representative Agem and I, we worked hard to get over 30,000 bridge card users off the program because they were part of the college universities receiving full scholarships, and it saved billions of dollars annually alone. So we're trying to tighten up and clean up our government, and we need to make sure that we can carry that message into the Senate.
One of the other major things that I look at as a person involved in politics and being the chair of Antrim County, I look at bills that representatives introduce, bills that they sponsor. And you introduced a couple bills that got my attention. Was number one, the nullification of Obamacare, your previous bill to undo anything that had to do with Agenda 21 in Michigan, quite a few others. Why don't you, for our listeners, maybe just talk about some of the bills and what your thinking was as to why you introduced those bills, and again, drawing a little contrast compared to some of the other folks that might be getting into this race.
Oh, okay. Obamacare, we'll start with that one. That was a very unpopular vote at the federal level, and relying on the Supreme Court to make it constitutional, I think, was an error in judgment. But nonetheless, while we're being forced with the attitude that we have to accept it, that it's law, just because it's law doesn't mean that it's right. I think there are many other ways that we can improve health care, and the way the president did it was the wrong way to do it. It is not being embraced. The funding for it is becoming more difficult to acquire, and frankly, it's becoming more divisive among many people. So I thought it best to turn around and let's do something at the state level. I'm working with Senator Colbeck on that, and at the same time, let's just nullify the Obamacare altogether. We can still provide quality health care, but let's do it in a way that's going to be beneficial for the state and not cost the government, both state and federal, billions and billions of dollars. That's something that we can't afford.
And another bill, 4099, you introduced in January, the Firearms Freedom Act, and it would bring jobs and manufacturing back to Michigan. Why did you introduce that bill?
Well, the Second Amendment rights, we have the right to bear arms, and I was seeing a tone from our federal government that I didn't appreciate. I don't think anybody should restrict our rights to own guns. It is our right. It is what helped form our Constitution and protect our government to what it is today. We are the land of the free and the home of the brave, and I'm seeing our rights being stripped away at the federal level. So I wanted to do whatever I could to reduce or eliminate that negative impact from our federal government and try to implement something at the state level to give us some state sovereignty and protect us.
Absolutely, amen to that. Because, I mean, at that time, you remember when you introduced it, Governor Snyder had vetoed SB 59 right after the Sandy Hook shootings, and then President Obama and Hillary Clinton, at the time Secretary of State, was talking about possibly entering into the UN Small Arms Treaty.
Yep, and that's another reason why I brought forward House Bill 4098. That's the School Protection Act. While I appreciate the passion of everybody, a lot of people out there don't like weapons in schools, and I truly get that. Unfortunately, our law enforcement officers, there is a delay in being able to get into the schools, and just like the Sandy Hook shooting, that school did everything right. They locked their doors, they had protectionary measures at the front door, and that person still came in and killed a number of people. And when you have something like that, you can only do one thing: pick up the phone and dial 911, and the delay starts at that point. House Bill 4098, all it did was allow, by choice, teachers or school administrators to get trained as law enforcement officers or reserve officers, and then be able to carry or have access to a weapon much quicker than what they would have had without it. Again, it was by choice. It wasn't forcing it down. People tell me that they do not like guns in schools. They'd rather see a police officer. So now here, there's a federal law. It says that if you're a teacher, if you can get trained as a police officer, and you can carry on school grounds. The federal law is already there. Absolutely.
One of the things that is currently being discussed is the penny plan. Governor Snyder working with Senate Majority Leader Randy Richardville, Jace Bolger, also Gretchen Whitmer and Tim Gramo in the House. They're talking about raising our sales tax from 6% to 7% to fund roads. $1.2 billion is what the number is Governor Snyder keeps throwing out there that he wants to do. And they're talking about this as an immediate vote as soon as you guys come back, because you're under a deadline to put this on a ballot proposal in November. They have to get this thing approved by 2/3 of the House and Senators to put it on our ballot for November. Where do you stand on this plan?
Well, we were elected into office to make decisions and make the tough decisions. I think taking that decision out of the hands of the legislators and giving it to the people as a whole, especially on this one here, I don't think needs to be done. I don't think one penny would be enough. And frankly, like I said, I think we need to prioritize our spending to fund our roads better. There's still a lot of money in government that we can spend better and leverage it with federal dollars and fix our roads. I don't think one penny is going to do it. And frankly, I think leveraging it with a prevailing wage to protect it, I think is a mistake. That's not something that I want to see. But this is in its infancy stage. What I'm reading is coming in from other news organizations. I haven't seen anything from our leadership, so I'm not really sure of what the position is at that time. But if I was to make a vote right here, right now, I would vote no. But I want to see this thing move forward and change, and then I want to see the final results before I vote. And if I don't like it, I'm going to vote no for it. The prevailing wage, to me, is the key issue. I think that needs to be repealed.
Absolutely. One of the problems that I've got as a former truck driver is paying a lot of fuel taxes and sales tax that it was been diverted into our public schools. Instead of using it for road repairs, it feels like to me anyway, Greg, like these legislators starting under Granholm or wherever it started, basically been robbing our roads maintenance fund in order to fund our schools. The whole thing is convoluted.
It is. And like any other corporation, when you have a takeover, you go back and you look at everything, where it's being spent, where the money's coming from. I think if we peel back the onion and then properly assess the money coming in and where it really should be allocated, we'd be much better off. But you're right. I mean, there's money that should be going to roads that isn't. When you get a ticket, a speeding ticket, a portion of that ticket, like $40, goes into the library fund. And that's been there since 1962. Maybe back then it was sufficient and we needed it, but now we really don't know where that money does go. And I'm not saying to strip it from the library fund, but certainly we need to start putting money where we truly need it, and we do need it for the roads.
Have you, being that you announced here on Patriot Voice Radio that you are in fact now a candidate for the 37th State Senate seat that currently is held by Howard Walker, who announced he's not going to run for re-election. Have you already set up a campaign account and a website for that race?
The website will be going up later on this afternoon or tomorrow. We have the campaign account already up and running, and we'll also get up on Facebook as well. We'll be spending most of the afternoon, once we finish up getting the word out. We'll be tightening everything up and fully operational tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning,
okay. So you'll have that on Facebook, and then we can announce it on the radio tomorrow afternoon.
Exactly.
Okay, great. Well, listen, we've got roughly about a minute and a half here before I'm forced to a hard break. What would be a message that you would like our listeners in the 37th Senate District to hear because of why you're running and getting into this race?
People have complained about government officials, elected officials, not being a voice for them. I am your trusted voice. I've been that way for over 15 years, and I've had a great track record, voting record in the House of Representatives, and I want to continue to represent the people, being loyal to them, and getting me to Senate, I will be able to continue to do just that.
Absolutely. And this is a different dynamic. Right now, being a House member, you're just one of 110 folks there. Going into the Senate, you're one of 38, and currently we have, I believe, 26 Republicans there versus 12 Democrats. That majority is a supermajority, 2/3, and if that can be maintained, that would really help, I think, maybe guide Governor Snyder in going forward in what he does in the future.
I think you put it very well. I want to see a stronger supermajority, a more conservative one.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you calling in. This is Greg MacMaster, currently the state rep for the 105th District, announcing here on Patriot Voice Radio that he is officially a candidate for the 37th State Senate District, currently held by Senator Howard Walker. Thanks a lot, Greg. We appreciate you calling in.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
You too, buddy. That's it. We're your defending fathers. We'll be right back.